What is up, everyone? Neely here talking about plugins today and all sorts of plugins. There are, look at this, 52,414 different plugins to kind of look from. And this is just on the WordPress.org repository. There are many more on sites like ThemeForest, even WooCommerce has their own plugins, all sorts of stuff. And basically with this video, I'm just gonna be talking about my favorite go-to plugins that I use pretty consistently when it comes to my clients and things like that. Depending on the client, I might add some other variations or get rid of some, but these are my default go-tos. And in this stream, if you will, we're basically just gonna be going through what they are, a quick little tutorial on how to use it, and just answering your questions as they come up if y'all have any. Make sure if you do like this channel, give it a follow. Shout outs are always appreciated as a new growing streamer, but let's jump into it. I have just my kind of dummy random site. There is not a whole lot going on with it. It's really just blank. The WordPress site archives, hello. There's nothing on it. So we can really just play around and kind of destroy it going through all of these. So within the WordPress dashboard, you can go to the plugins that you have installed by going to plugins and then installed plugins. Now down towards here, you can see a long list of the plugins that I have. I currently have 14 plugins. Now, the rule of thumb when it comes to WordPress is less is more. So the fewer plugins you can get away with while still accomplishing your overall objective with your website or your client's websites, the better. I think so. I started at GoDaddy about 8-ish years ago, working on the phone, just helping out customers and things like that. And this lady had 57 plugins on her WordPress site. Most of them weren't updated, which is bad in itself, but 57, and that's way too much, to the point where she didn't really know what all the plugins actually did for the site. They were just kind of there and just left to rot, if you will. So definitely less is more. Make sure you're using only what you need, and whatever you don't need, just get rid of it. Don't let it just sit there, because it does create a security vulnerability at the end of the day, and makes your site pretty slow as well if they're not optimized correctly. So I'm going to go a little bit different here. I'm going to go top to bottom, or bottom to top rather. Yes, bottom top. Just kind of go through this here. So starting off with Yoast, this is the most popular SEO plugin. There's a pretty good reason for it. It makes everything super seamless to kind of create. So let's go ahead and check out the settings here, so we can get a quick little tour. So right here we had just the general settings. There's not much to go through because it's still loading for me. But there is a first time SEO configuration when you go into this, and I highly recommend doing this. Just going to save you a little bit of time at the end of the day. It's just a nice little wizard. So it's going to let you specify if your site is under construction or ready to be active. I'll say my site is ready to be indexed. I would pretty much recommend this unless it's going to take you months to build. Google and other search engines take a while to really index your site. And also you might forget that you've left it not indexed. And if your site is not indexed, it's not going to show up on search engines, which is a bad thing. You want your site to be shown and found and searched for. Make sure you have that live and ready to be indexed. We're going to go ahead and hit next. Our site type. This is just the type of site that you are creating. For the most part, for the sites that I do, it's usually either a small offline business or an online shop. We'll make it easy and just do an offline business. Then you can start to really put in all of the information. Does this site represent an organization or a person? Usually it's an organization for me, so we'll say Neely Pro. Why not? You can have an image for the logo, and then all of the little Facebook URL, Twitter username, even have MySpace URL in here for some weird reason. I don't know why. But it's there if your client still has a MySpace up. Just go ahead and hit next. Search engine should show posts, more just specifying what shows on those search engine results. For this, I would not want my templates to show up in search results. The templates are something I'm using for Elementor. That's just kind of like the preset things that I create. they're not really ready to be actually seen, or they're not supposed to be seen by anyone, because it's just making my life easier on the back end. So I'll make sure I hit no for there. Multiple authors. Does your site or will your site have multiple authors? If it's just you or just your client blogging on the site, choose no. If it's yes, choose yes. Title settings. So the website name will preset whatever's in settings, and then general, that site title. You can also change it and customize. Make sure your site name is in here. You can update your title separator, whether you want a dash, an arrow, a dot, an asterisk, whatever it is. I usually like this little pipe symbol here for my separators. Number 7, if you want them to track your site data to help them improve. And then they're going to try to upsell a little bit here and also just provide some free training. I'm just going to go ahead and next, and then success. It's all done. So close the wizard. Now that's part of the nice thing with Yoast. You'll also want to actually edit the content on each individual page too, because we do want them to show up a little bit different. So we go over to pages and then sample page, and we're going to edit this sample page here. We can see, as I get out of this, down here we have Yoast settings. So the focus key phrase, just read this kind of verbatim. It's really, actually that's not a tooltip anymore. So the focus key phrase is really the focus word or phrase that you want on your website. So whether it's a service that you offer, or it's a category or something you really want to be kind of known for with this page. So if I'm selling WordPress web design services, that's probably going to be my focus key phrase. And it's going to scan the page that you've created for that focus key phrase and show you if you have a good amount of keywords on there, or if you need to kind of step it up a bit, or if you have too many, because too many is also a bad thing too. You get a nice little preview of how your site will look. Your search engine result will look on mobile and desktop. You can edit the SEO title. It does it by default with the title, page, separator, and site title. The slug is what comes up after your domain name, so slash, and then whatever it is there. And then the meta description is just it's the description to hook potential visitors into your site. So you don't get a lot of real estate when it comes to search engines, but that meta title and the meta description is there to persuade people to click your link over other people's links. So this is super important to make sure you have updated on your sites and on your client site. Then when you're all said and done, you get an SEO analysis, and it'll tell you all the good things you're doing and all the bad things you're doing. If you don't know what any of this means, if you're just starting out, or if you just kind of have just the basics, you can click this little link here on any of them, and it'll give you a ton of awesome information, which is why I like Yoast so much. It definitely helps when it comes to my clients, and they're going and updating these things after they've taken over their site. They don't have to bother me for every little thing. I just refer them to this documentation. You can also add related key phrases. You can set whether this is cornerstone content, so the most important and extensive articles on your site, you want to be cornerstone. And then just some advanced settings here, whether you want search engines to show this page, and things like that. But that's Yoast in a nutshell. It optimizes your website for search engines, lets you know whether you're doing good or bad when it comes to the technical details of the site itself, and just makes overall life easy. So back to plugins, let's see what we have next. All right, Sukuri, or Sukuri, as it's correctly said, security. So this one is a security plugin, and that's just found on the left-hand side here somewhere. Let's pop it up. Sukuri is my go-to security plugin. It's pretty simple to use. It has auditing, and it basically is one-click activation for a lot of the security tips or security recommendations inside of this nice little dashboard. You do have to create a little API key, but it takes 2 seconds. Oh, I already have it created right there. And don't worry, for security, this site will be wiped after this whole session is said and done. But if we go over to settings, we have just general settings, looking at data storage. You can export logs, do reverse proxy, all sorts of cool stuff right from this dashboard. You can set up a scanner, really just schedule tasks, kind of see the integrity of your WordPress files, especially core files. They're just things that have been modified or changed. So if you notice that a ton of your files have been modified and you haven't made any updates, there's probably something something fishy that happened here, and you want to kind of get to the bottom of it there. But as far as the hardening goes, this is where you can do those one-click apply hardening. So if we want to enable the firewall protection, you have to have their services. But if you want to block PHP files in the upload directory, I can quickly just click that button and it's done. Don't have to be a coding wizard to do this. Yeah, you can go into your file directory and create a couple files to block that yourself, but this plugin just does it for you. Avoid that information leakage. Oh, cannot delete me. I'll have to delete that later, but for the most part, it'll update all of your information there. It has information on post tags, so you can generate new security keys, reset user passwords, make sure that your site is safe. I think what a lot of people do when it comes to a hacked site is they'll get some type of cleanup service, clean it up really quick, and then they think that that's fine. It's all said and done. It's all great. They forget to reset passwords, generate those new security keys that go into that wp config file, and a couple other things. So it makes it nice to have that there. Alerts. They send a ton of alerts. I'll let you kind of adjust and set that as you need to. I adjust this quite a bit to where I'm not being notified after every single little thing. So that's my only critique with Sukuri, as they send me way too many emails when it comes to just the different things. But it is good knowing all of the different changes going on with your website. So that is Security in a nutshell, just a great plugin that makes it super easy to secure and harden your website. It's probably not enough just to have security. For your security, I would go with some type of malware removal service or some type of firewall, basically kind of creates a moat around your house or your website, keeping out all the intruders. But that's that plugin in a nutshell. Next up, really simple SSL. Just like it says, a lightweight plugin without any setup to make your site SSL proof. I'll typically do this just for safety. There are sometimes hard-coded links of http:// or some images that I don't switch over. This kind of does one set click to create all the links and references on your site to HTTPS, does the redirects, does all these different things. But you can easily just enable it right here and hit save when you are done. Not a whole lot to talk about. Basically just make sure that your site has that lock symbol, does not have that mixed content warning, or what it now shows is not secure on your website, even if you have an SSL. Just because you install one, there are extra steps needed to actually make it a reality there. Next plugin we have Project Huddle client sites. So Project Huddle is probably my favorite plugin of 2020 that I've discovered. Basically, it lets your clients add feedback directly on the site live. And it's pretty cool how it does it. I think I have it set up correctly. Oh, I've got to finish this. Paste the code. Let me just finish the actual setup of Project Huddle. It basically gives you you have the plugin set up on your actual website, and you create basically an access point for the client site and install their child plugin. And basically, just like it says, welcome to leave a comment, click the comment button, then click anywhere on the page. And now my clients, while I'm developing their website, they can go in here and click on here saying, I don't like how this says archives, or whatever it might be. They can upload if you have that attachment there, and I can add comment, and then it can kind of go through, but I can see all the comments throughout the site. I can see what pages have comments, what have been resolved, what hasn't been resolved. I can see the latest activity. So if I'm the only one that's commented, my client hasn't actually gone through this yet, I can kind of know that from there. But Project Huddle has been a lifesaver when it comes to getting just feedback from my clients. I originally was doing Google Docs where they would kind of send and go, all right, cool. So about this, and then the testimonial in this section, I want this to be this. And it was just a nightmare. It was a lot of just back and forth and re-clarifying with the client. And my clients didn't necessarily know how to communicate in web design, and that's definitely understandable. I don't expect anyone to know all the different little lingo that we use on a day-to-day basis, but this has made it just super easy. I haven't had any of my clients have an issue actually using this in the past because it's so easy. It's just kind of clicking comment, going here, and then going. But one cool thing about Project Huddle is on this, I can see details, and it shows me all the details of their computer. So I have the browser, I have the dimensions, the operating system, and it even does a little screenshot of what they've clicked on to make sure that we're looking at the same thing. Sometimes the references of where they click gets like anchored to like maybe the navigation, but even though they meant like right below it. So it's good to have a little screenshot to see exactly what they were looking at. They did it. That's Project Huddle. That is a premium plugin, but if you are working with a bunch of clients, it is absolutely worth it to install on your website. All right, and then next up we have, oh, wrong site. All right, Imagify. So optimization is everything with a website. Imagify is my image compression tool, plugin, if you will. So let's check out the settings. So it optimizes the images just to kind of shrink them. And I haven't really seen any actual loss of image quality when it comes to the site, the images themselves, even though it compresses it and reduces the overall quality a little bit, but it hasn't really been noticeable. But auto optimize images on uploads. It can back up your original images just in case maybe you go ultra and then there's an issue there. Keep your XF data. Really, the reason why I go with this plugin over say Smush or some of the other ones, even though it's been a while since I've checked it on, they might do it now, is it creates WebP versions of the images. WebP, that extension, if you will, is optimized for browsers. So WebP is drastically reduced from like a JPEG or a PNG or a GIF even. So that's typically my go-to when it comes to the image type on a website, just to make it nice and fast and smooth and make sure that the website is running as optimal as possible. And then super recently, I can't believe I didn't know this yet, but there is a Webm format for videos. I took a 46 megabyte video and turned it into like 672 kilobytes. It was insane. The image quality definitely gets beat up a little bit. It was on this site I'm working on, but it's not too bad to where it's noticeable because it is the background image. But it makes it nice and neat, organized, and that's a 672 kilobyte or 600 something kilobyte video running in the background when it was 46 megabytes previously. But you can resize images larger than a certain amount and then save changes. And when you're all done, you can go to that bulk optimizer and just optimize all the images inside of your media library. I honestly don't think I have any with this temporary site, but we can change that later. You can also look in different directories too. So if you want to optimize the images and content in your WordPress WP themes folder and all the images inside of there. But Imagify is my go-to. It's a free plugin. They have, I think it's a gigabyte bandwidth per month or something like that on the free plan. And then something after that, it's like $5 a month if you need to do even more. But the free one works for most people. All right, so next up we have before we go to essential add-ons, I'll just skip to Elementor because that doesn't necessarily make sense yet. So Elementor is my go-to design plugin. It's similar to say Divi or Bakery Builder. I think it surpassed 5 million downloads if I'm not mistaken. Let's check that out. So I saw it on Popular. Yeah, 5 million active installs, which is insane. Yeah, you can see like no other designer type plugin comes close to that. And it's become so popular because of its ease of use and flexibility too. I've kind of gravitated towards it because at the end of the day, I'm designing sites for my clients and I want them to have the ability to make their own edits super quickly, especially those tiny little edits like changing a title or replacing an image. I don't have to disrupt my day to go do something as simple as that. I have a lot bigger fish to fry. So it makes it easy for them to actually go in and do that. But Elementor is that go-to plugin. And Essential Add-Ons for Elementor is just a third-party plugin that extends the functionality of the widgets that Elementor and Elementor Pro come with. So those together create my kind of default design building package whenever I work on my client sites. So let's go through a quick tutorial on how to use Elementor. I'm gonna get rid of some of these tabs. I don't know if you're like me, I'll have like a million tabs open by the end of a working session, and then trying to find my original pages is a bit of a challenge. I don't know, honestly, don't know what I'm doing. All right, edit the sample page. And if you are going to use Elementor, what I recommend is going down to page attributes and changing this to Elementor full width. If you don't, you'll have like typically like the theme side widget, the blog type archive view, and a little mini editor. You want it to be the full width, that page attribute there. And then this theme is super basic, so it's got like just a generic header. I'll get rid of this. So Elementor is a what you see is what you get type of editor, otherwise known as WYSIWYG. So all the items that you can add to the website are on the left-hand side. It uses kind of like a block frame section type layout, so you can add a bunch of different sections to the site as it goes through. And these can be easily scaled and adjusted as you see fit. But I'm going to create just a quick little hero section. So I can right click and can edit just that section settings. So if I want to set like a minimum height, I can do that. If I want to change the background, I have the ability to do like a classic, whether I want an image, I can do gradient, video, a slideshow background. I'm just going to do a gradient for now. Nice little subtle thing. On the left-hand side, we can always click that little Rubik's Cube menu to get back to the settings. I can add my title, center it, set the H value, change the font settings. Same thing with text. Change it centered, white line, or white font, add a button. All that good stuff, and all that could be edited accordingly. But Essential Add-Ons will have its own separate section as we kind of opposite expand. Close, I'm just gonna say close. I can't think today, but Essential Add-Ons will have its own kind of section here where they have a bunch of cool little things like a dual color heading. There are ways to do that in Elementor. This just makes it kind of easy to do. Nice and easy. There's a content ticker. Honestly, I don't think I've messed with a lot of these. So we'll kind of explore these together. They've got countdowns, they give Facebook feeds, flip boxes. It's kind of visual, just add some color site. But those are kind of my default builder plugins. Elementor, Elementor Pro. It's absolutely worth I think it's $50 for a single site or $150 for the 1,000 site. Having the ability to edit everything. I'll use this default theme, if you will. It's called Hello, and then use Elementor to actually develop every single asset of the website. So with Elementor Pro, you can customize and create the header, the footer that's used on all pages. You can customize and create an archive page, the single blog post, WooCommerce pages, custom post types, all sorts of stuff with that. and it just feeds directly into it. And you can go to templates and then theme builder. I'll just go to the new visual builder so it makes it easier, but you can edit all of these: headers, footers, single posts, single pages, archives, search results, 404, design it with the builder, make it look exactly how you want it to look, which is super cool because now you're not really reliant on a theme anymore. It's more so however you want to actually design the site itself. But that's Elementor in a nutshell. In a future stream, I'm probably going to do a really deep dive into Elementor and all the features and building a site with it. In the last stream, I used Elementor to create a quick little Twitch streamer landing page rather. So if you're interested, just in one of my previous videos here. But let's jump back. Get rid of these. Save this for now. All right. So after Elementor, Elementor Pro, and essential add-ons for Elementor, we have Envato Elements. So Envato Elements takes a lot from elements.envato.com. This is a subscription. The plugin itself is free, and there's a lot of free options with it. But this has a bunch of stuff like stock video, video templates, music, sound effects, graphic templates, graphics, presentation, photos, add-ons, and a whole lot more. It's kind of like my digital repository of all the things that I need as a designer, really. But the actual WordPress plugin itself comes with free templates that you can use. So I'll show you all the free kits, and it also comes with free blocks as well. So blocks are kind of, I think of them like Lego blocks. So you have like, it'll come with like heroes and about pages and all sorts of other stuff. And I'll show you that here in a second. But these are the free template kits that you get with that plugin. And I really like to use these sometimes for those sites that are in a lower budget that don't require a fully custom build, or just kind of get some inspiration for a site. So I can quickly see and check out the preview of the site, see if it's something that I'm into. And if it's something that I like, I would just go back and click Install Kit. Typically with these kits, there's a couple of plugins that it would require. You would just click this and then install the above requirements. For the sake of this demo, I'm not going to do that because I'm not actually going to go into it. The second part of the Envato plugin is the blocks. So I'll show you the free blocks here. And these are just different sections that you can kind of Lego build a website together with. So let's go and just do a quick about, if you will. And you can kind of go through and see which one you like before you want to kind of make that the go-to. And it'll just take a minute to import. And then it's in. Change this background to white so it's easy to see, but there we have it. That block is in, and I can adjust it however I want to based on the client, and kind of plug and play. It's the same thing if you were to do like a wireframe kit and kind of wireframe a site. Do the same with the website here. The third part rather, with this is the free photos inside of Envato. So if I were to add just an image here really quick, if you have their license, you get access to their photo library, and they're actually really cool. They have a lot of just vibrant and professional photographers contributing to their library. So you can easily grab one of these images. I got a bad API call, but I think it's because I did a lot of stuff before this that probably wasn't the best for this site as I'm messing around. But it would import it in, and it would import it into a size that is readily supported for a browser. Like if you were to download this directly from Envato, it'd be like the 5,000 by 5,000. But if you install this directly through the plugin, it'll be browser size at most. So it's not going to be too large of size to download, keeping your site nice and optimized and clean there. But moving on. My camera went out. Oh, there it goes. Weird. Cool. So we have custom post type UI rounding us out here. So custom post type allows you to create different post types. But what I mean by that is on the left-hand side here, you have like posts. That is a post type. But say you wanted to create maybe team members or portfolio items or things like that. Those are probably the two most common that I've used, but really just anything with its own separate section. You would do that with custom post type UI. So if we go to CPT UI, I can edit a post type. We'll do team member. That's the slug. So we do team members, plural, and then singular. And then there's a bunch of other variations you can do if you really want to get super specific with it. Before I go and save it, I'll mess with the settings. So I want to make sure that it's public, it's queryable, it shows the UI, delete with user false, show on REST API true, it has an archive. So if it's a portfolio that I'm making this custom post type for, I'll make sure that is true. Since it's a team members, I'll leave it false. Exclude from search. Now I want team members to show up on search. Capability type post. A bunch of other different settings you can kind of go through. It supports, if you want it to be basically the same as posts, just check all of these boxes except for none. And then same thing with taxonomies. If you want them to have categories and tags, probably doesn't make sense to have tags for me for this, but categories, yes, if I want to have like a sales department and marketing and HR all kind of showed up on the site, but I can organize them by different categories there. And then I can add that post type. And now you can see on the left-hand side, I have team members. So let's check out all team members. I don't have any yet, but if I go ahead and click add new, it basically shows up exactly as a normal post would. And that's by design. It's not supposed to be super just different, but now it'll allow you to actually import and create different queries within your website that'll only pull up your team members, for example, without getting too muddied in with posts. I see a lot of people will create a post and do category team, but now their team will end up on their blog archive. It doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really work. And that's why people will create those custom post types. There are a million different uses for those custom post types that you can use. Those are just my two most common examples: creating team members, allowing them to be easily managed and edited here, or a portfolio where you can create your portfolio items and then query them on the website. And if you are using Elementor, what I mean by that query, I can do say portfolio and then query the source. You post pages, manual selection related, but you can set up that query of say portfolio items and only pulls those up on your website. So back to plugins. We are almost done. Better search and replace. So a small plugin for running a search and replace on your WordPress site. I'll typically use this only after a website migration or even after using really simple SSL, especially when I'm changing the domain on that migration. So if I have like say this temporary domain and I'm changing it to neely.pro and this is my website, for the most part, the domain switched, whether you're using GoDaddy or Cloudways or Bluehost, they primarily work. But if there's anything kind of hard-coded or referenced weird, some items are missed. So I'll go over here and go to settings, tools rather, and then better search and replace. And I'll do a search and I want to search for, I'm going to do this backwards so I don't break anything. Say my original site was neely.pro and I'm changing it to the 4n1.bb7.myftp upload. I would select all of these tables. I want to do case sensitive. I wouldn't replace GUIDs. I'm going to keep this as dry run. If I want this to actually take effect, I would uncheck that box, but I would run that search and replace. And it's going to go through your entire database and look for the https://neely.pro and replace it with that my FTP upload URL. And it'll give you a kind of update. So 19 tables were searched, 2 cells were found that need to be updated, 0 changes were made. Somewhere on this site, I have neely.pro, and I'm pretty sure it's just my email address that it's using, or my profile. I don't know. It's somewhere in there, but it would get replaced if I hit that uncheck the box for run as dry run. And it just makes sure that all links and all references are pointed to that 4-in-1. Super handy tool. I don't have to use it often, only after some WordPress migrations. And then next up, we have Asset Cleanup Page Speed Booster. So I go back and forth between this one and Auto-Optimize or Auto-Optimize, however you want to pronounce it. I've been going with this one just because it does a little bit more than Auto-Optimize does. So I have to install yet another plugin to do some of these different things. But you want to go here when you first jump in and basically say, hey, I've read all this. I understand how the plugin works. I'll make sure I do proper tests. They do have a test mode, so you can kind of go through and make sure that your visitors won't see different things while you're messing with things, which is always nice. But it can optimize your CSS, so it minifies it. It can combine it into fewer style sheets. It can also inline CSS if it's very small, but chances are you'll never, ever pick that. And then cache dynamic loaded CSS. Let that save. Then we go to optimize JavaScript. Same thing, minification, combined loaded JavaScript, and then cache dynamically loaded. If you have a CDN and it has a specific URL, you can update it here. Site-wide comment on loads is super nice. So it just gets rid of some of the bloat that comes with WordPress that you may never use. So if you're not using emojis or embeds, or the O-embed feature rather, dash icons, you can disable Gutenberg if you're not using Gutenberg at all. And then disable comment reply site-wide, things like that. All these can be updated with one quick click of a button rather. And then same thing with the HTML source cleanup. A bunch of different settings just to optimize your site and your site speed that you can go through. And that's kind of why I use this one over Auto-Optimize, just because it does give me all those extra little goodies. Because site speed is everything when it comes to a website. The slower a website, the less likely a visitor is to convert. Local fonts. I actually just had to do this with my other site that I was building for my wedding venue client. Basically, it was loading like the default like Open Sans and then loading the custom font that I installed. I updated to preload that local font just so it loads it first, so you don't see that kind of weird flip from the default font to the actual font. And it'll just look like this. WP content themes, your theme, and then whatever that font file is. Google Fonts, you have a little bit more flexibility of what you want it to do, whether you want it to reconnect. So don't let the browsers wait until it sees the CSS, basically say, hey, cool, I'm gonna be loading Google Font. Make sure you load this and don't wait till I tell you to load this. You should just know, because that's what websites do, right? And disable XML. This has a premium option in the site itself, so we can kind of go a little bit further and specify which pages load which plugins. So if you have a plugin that's really only for, say, the contact page, like it's a Google Map embed for some weird reason, you install a plugin for it. You can disable that everywhere else but that contact page to make sure that your plugins aren't being loaded on every single page, even when they're not actually being used, which is pretty common when it comes to plugins. This page 2, if I go to an actual page, this plugin 2, it shows you all the different scripts that are being loaded on a single page. So if we go over to, say, our sample page here, and we go down, we can see that we have our asset cleanup. It's fetching all the assets that are being loaded on the site. So if you have a ton of scripts being loaded, you don't really know what's going on or why it's going slow. This is a really helpful tool to kind of figure out what's going on. It lets you either just not load it at all if it's something irrelevant, Lets you force it in the header, force it to defer in the footer, so it loads in a different order. This is taking a minute, so I'll just kind of move on, and I might come back to it if we've got time here. Back to plugins. You can see I'm already kind of stacking up these tabs. Try to be better. Try. All right, all in one WordPress migration. If I had to choose a plugin to migrate my site, this one would be it. This makes it super easy to plug and play your site over. Say I'm migrating this website over to another server or dumping it over to my client site server. I would go to export. I would go, if I'm not replacing the URL, which I almost always do, I'll do a little find replace. Again, say I want to find this, replace it with https://neely.pro. I wouldn't do add again. You probably won't need to do add again. And then you can do export to a file. And it'll start to export all of the files, the database, and all the different configurations that you have. And then once you have that, it'll upload it. You can upload this over to your new website and go right there. And you can see it was pretty quick to actually go through. Granted, this isn't a pretty large site. It's only 150 megabytes, but nice and easy there. And then importing is just as easy. I would go over to import, drag this file. There's a maximum upload size issue. You would update this within like a php.ini file or a .user.ini file if you need to. But you can also get unlimited. I think this is like $35 for an all you need to use it for. And their support is fantastic. I forgot I paid for this plugin years ago, and I went to go purchase it again, and I quickly got an email saying, hey, cool, we just refunded you. You actually purchased this. Here's your download, and here's how to get access to it. And I was blown away with how nice they were, because I was about to spend more money and give them more money. They just wanted to kind of help me out and say, hey, you already got it purchased. Here you go. But definitely recommended if you're going to go this route and use this plugin is to get that unlimited license. Again, I think it's like $35 or something. Definitely worth it for as long as you need it. But when I don't use the plugin, I'll use GoDaddy Pro Sites, which is like managed WP, if you're familiar with that, to migrate the sites back and forth between servers. Back to plugins. Last but not least here, we have Advanced Custom Fields or ACF. So a super powerful plugin. And to kind of go with the team members example, a use case for it. So Advanced Custom Fields lets you create instead of like your default editor, you can create your own fields inside of a page that can be spit out on the website somewhere. So I'm going to show you how this will work. Let me just make sure that Elementor is set up for that new custom post type. Team members. All right, so let me find. I always forget where. Oh, there it is. All right, so custom fields. So using the team member example, we want to add a new field group. So we're going to go team members. Post type is equal to, we want it to be team member. That's the rules. We only want these custom post types to show up for team members. But let's add some fields. So name, so we want the name of the person. It's going to be text. There's a couple different, actually a lot of different options that you can choose from when it comes to that custom field. Whether it should be a text area, email, if you want it to have that WYSIWYG, like basically classic editor for WordPress, embed choices, all sorts of stuff. We're going to keep it simple and just go name. If it's required, placeholder text, enter the employee's name. There's the apostrophe there. Character limit if you want. All right, let's close that. Let's do one more. Ooh, let's see. No, we're good. All right, and now we're gonna do department. New field text. Instructions, cool, that's all fine. I'm just gonna go ahead and publish. And with these custom fields too, you can also hide different options too. So if you only want people to, the users to see just the custom fields, maybe you don't want them to see the actual default like editor or authors or attributes or anything like that. Kind of confusing having all of that there. You can disable it right from this screen. But we're going to create a new team member really quick. Some of this is going to be a little redundant with the name and then the name again. So we're going to go Joe Schmo. Nope, that's not how you spell Schmo. All right, the custom fields will show up here. It's the employee's name. He works in marketing. So we're gonna go ahead and publish that. Now we're gonna edit this with Elementor. Now you would create a template for this archive. So that way these automatically populate. So you don't have to do this with every single one, but I'm just being kind of quick to show you this here. So we're gonna make this full width. So get rid of all that nonsense. Cool. So let's do the heading. So in Elementor, there are dynamic tags. So you can do dynamic tags for like the post custom fields, the dates, the excerpts, the descriptions, all that good stuff. We're actually going to go down to ACF field because we made an advanced custom field. We're going to choose a key. We have the name. So that pops up Joe Schmo. I can do the same thing with text, for example. ACF field. Choose the key and department. And I can start to do that. And now, again, the use case for this is I would create a template inside of Elementor. So I would do add new and create a new archive for team that would automatically pull those in. So as I go ahead and create a bunch of team members, I don't have to go in and create those team member pages each and every time. It's automatically going to create it based on those custom fields with whatever design that I've set up. I'll do one of those in a future stream where I go and set up a full-on team members section or a portfolio. Really using advanced custom fields. This is just kind of just touching the water, if you will, with advanced custom fields integrated into Elementor and just a use case. So these kind of pull in, and that way, if I go in here, go back to the page. And if I adjust any of these items, I don't have to go into Elementor to adjust them. They're just going to adjust right there. Cool, and now he's in sales. Congratulations, Joe Schmo. Making that money. Well, that's advanced custom fields. But those are my go-to default plugins. I may not use them on every single build, but I use them all pretty often depending. There are a lot of plugins that I may use depending on the build, such as like advanced events calendar or WooCommerce and things like that. But those are pretty specific to my clients' needs. But if you've liked any of these plugins, let me know. If there's a plugin that I should talk about or I just absolutely need to know about, I'd also love to let me know in the chat or in the comments, depending on when you're watching this. But I'll be kind of creating little bite-sized pieces of this video and kind of putting it on my YouTube channel, on my Twitch stream as little clips, things like that. But I appreciate you watching, whether you're watching right now or watching later. I'll have more streams coming soon. I'm going to be trying to stream Monday and Wednesday on web design type content, and then Thursday, Sunday, just gaming, but likely a lot more just when I have some extra time and I'm not doing my day job or my side hustle job.